Why didn't Jesus celebrate the miracles when the disciples returned full of joy? Imagine the scene described in Luke 10. The disciples return euphoric, saying that even the spirits submit to him. The impossible has happened. The supernatural has manifested itself. Spiritual authority has been proven before their very eyes. It was the perfect moment for a great celebration. It was the kind of victory any leader would celebrate with enthusiasm. But then Jesus does something unexpected. Instead of exalting the miracles, he says, "Do not rejoice because the spirits submit." Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever lived through a moment of spiritual triumph, of answered prayer, of visible victory, and expected that to be the high point of your faith? Jesus' reaction completely breaks our human logic. He doesn't celebrate the power. He isn't impressed by the supernatural manifestation. He redirects, and that's exactly where something profound begins to happen. What you are about to discover may surprise you, because this statement by Jesus in Luke 10 is not just a momentary correction to the disciples. It reveals a pattern in Christ's silent gestures and attitudes. While the disciples celebrated spiritual authority, Jesus saw an invisible danger: the risk of ego, the fascination with power, the joy based on performance. Stay with me until the end, because understanding why Jesus didn't celebrate the miracles can profoundly change how you view your own faith. This seemingly simple scene hides a much greater spiritual meaning than it appears, and what follows reveals why Jesus completely changed the focus of that celebration. Because, deep down, perhaps we too are celebrating the wrong things. Perhaps we are measuring our spiritual life by visible results, by extraordinary answers, by manifestations of power, while Jesus is looking at something much deeper. He doesn't ignore miracles, but makes it clear that there is something greater than spiritual authority. There is something more secure than supernatural experiences. There is a joy that doesn't depend on what we do, but on who we are before God. And I want to ask you sincerely, where is your joy today? Is it in spiritual achievements, in the victories that others see, or in the certainty that your name is written in heaven? Have you ever experienced a moment when God needed to redirect your heart, just as he did with the disciples? If this topic resonates with you, leave a comment below about what has touched you most so far. Share your experience, your doubts, or even your struggles. Sometimes what you write can strengthen the faith of someone who is reading in silence. If this reflection has already started to resonate with you, please like the video. It may seem simple, but your participation here is what makes this channel grow and reach more people with this type of content. When you comment and like, you help this message reach someone who might need exactly this truth today. And if you want to continue delving into these gestures, silences, and attitudes of Jesus that reveal hidden teachings, subscribe to the Jesus Beyond Words channel. Here we don't just stay on the surface of the text, we seek the profound spiritual meaning behind every detail. Because what Jesus did at that moment wasn't just a response to the disciples, it was a revelation that still needs to be understood. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because what is happening in Luke 10 is not just a specific correction, it's a revelation about the spiritual mindset that can transform or destroy a journey of faith. Jesus knew that power, when not well managed in the heart, becomes fertile ground for the ego. Spiritual authority can generate recognition. Recognition can generate comparison. And comparison often generates silent pride. The problem wasn't the miracles themselves. The problem was what the miracles could begin to build within them. Notice the hidden truth behind the scene. The disciples were celebrating results. They returned impressed by the impact they were making. Even the spirits submit. There is legitimate excitement there, but there is also an invisible risk. When joy is based on performance, identity begins to depend on what you do, not on who you are. And that is one of the most dangerous decisions in the spiritual life. Are we celebrating today what Jesus didn't celebrate? In ministries, in gifts, in numbers, in influence, in behind-the-scenes things that no one sees, but that fuel a sense of importance. It's possible to be serving God and, at the same time, nurturing a secret expectation of recognition. It's possible to live supernatural experiences and still lose sight of the core of inner transformation. Jesus interrupts that euphoria because he sees beyond the moment. He sees the impact that mindset could have on the future. He knows that power without intimacy creates distance. Results without character create fragility. Authority without identity creates instability. And that is precisely why he redirects the focus before the heart strays. Perhaps this message is confronting something within you right now. Maybe it's adjusting perspectives, rearranging priorities, shaking internal structures that seem solid. If this is affecting you in any way, comment below. This makes sense to me. This is precisely where the great turning point in the story occurs. After interrupting the disciples' euphoria, Jesus doesn't just correct them. He redefines the focus. Rejoice because your names are written in heaven. This phrase completely changes the perspective. He shifts their focus from the external impact to an internal, eternal, unshakable truth. Notice the mindset shift Jesus is proposing. It's not about what you do. It's about who you are before God. It's not about spiritual authority. It's about eternal identity. While the disciples celebrated the power they wielded, Jesus invites them to celebrate the belonging they possess. This reveals a hidden truth that transcends generations. Performance can never replace relationship. When he speaks of names written in heaven, he touches upon the image of the Book of Life, a celestial record symbolizing salvation, belonging, and eternal security. In that culture, having one's name recorded meant citizenship, official recognition, confirmed identity. Jesus is saying, the greatest joy is not that hell recognizes your authority, but that heaven recognizes your sonship. This changes everything, because authority can be temporary, results can vary, impacts can diminish, but identity remains. And here is one of the most profound revelations of this moment. Intimacy is greater than authority. Power can impress people, but intimacy transforms the heart. Power can generate applause. Intimacy generates stability. Power can feed the ego. Eternal identity sustains the journey. Jesus is protecting the disciples from an invisible trap. He is shaping future decisions, adjusting their mindset so that they build their faith not on experiences, but on relationships. And perhaps that is the key to a real transformation in our own spiritual journey. If this perspective begins to reorganize something within you, write this down. My joy is in heaven. When we understand the historical context behind this statement, everything takes on an even greater dimension. The idea of names written in the heavens didn't just appear out of nowhere. In Jewish apocalyptic literature of that period, the concept of celestial records already existed, books containing names, destinies, and judgments. There was a collective mentality that God kept spiritual records, something present in the background of the faith of that time. So, when Jesus mentions names written in the heavens, the disciples don't hear something strange or disconnected from their reality. They recognize the language. But this is where one of the most impactful revelations of this journey occurs. Jesus uses language they knew and completely redefines its meaning. For many, these records were linked to judgment, merit, reward for works. It was almost a spiritual accounting. But Jesus shifts the center of the narrative. He doesn't talk about performance sufficient to get on the list. He talks about belonging. He talks about identity. He talks about joy based on something already established. Notice the shift in mindset this brings about. It's not just registration. It's relationship. It's not just a written name. It's a recognized name. This changes the impact of the message, because it's not about conquering a place, but about experiencing the security of already having been welcomed. This hidden truth alters decisions, shapes character, and redefines priorities. The historical authority of this context further strengthens the theological depth of the moment. Jesus is not merely teaching a doctrine. He is repositioning the hearts of the disciples. He is revealing that the greatest privilege is not to wield spiritual power, but to belong to the kingdom intimately and securely. And when this understanding matures, the spiritual journey ceases to be a race for results and becomes a path of inner transformation. If this perspective broadens your understanding of what it means to have your name in heaven, comment below. Belonging. There's a detail in this scene that goes unnoticed by most people. Jesus doesn't rebuke the disciples harshly. He doesn't shame them. He doesn't diminish the experience they had. He simply redirects them. And this silent gesture carries one of the greatest revelations of this passage. It's not an explosion of authority. It's a demonstration of wisdom. It's not an aggressive correction. It's an adjustment of mindset. Notice the subtlety of this. While they are impressed by power, Jesus is tending to their hearts. He understands the inner workings of the human soul. He knows how inner decisions shape outer futures. If he allowed that euphoria to become the center of their identity, the journey could go astray. So, before the impact of spiritual success could take root in invisible pride, he intervenes with a greater truth. This is the kind of attitude that reveals who Jesus truly is. He doesn't want followers fascinated by power. He wants children secure in their identity. He's not creating spiritual celebrities. He's forming transformed hearts. And that difference changes everything. Because power can be displayed, but identity is lived. Power can generate momentary applause. Identity generates stability on the journey. This is precisely where the micro-theme gains strength. Jesus' gestures, silences, and attitudes that reveal hidden teachings. The fact that he did not celebrate miracles in the way we would expect is not indifference. It is a spiritual strategy. It is protection. It is love. The silence of celebration was, in fact, a loving correction, an intentional decision to preserve the hearts of the disciples amidst their success. And perhaps today he still does the same with us. Perhaps, in moments when we expect applause from heaven, God is silently working on our inner transformation. If this insight broadens your understanding of Jesus' character, write this down: intimacy above authority. This is not just a story about disciples of the past. It's a mirror for our own journey. Where is your joy today? Is it in spiritual results, in doors that have opened, in answers you've received, in recognition you may have gained? Or is it grounded in your identity in God, in silent belonging, in the certainty that your name is in heaven regardless of your performance? This is a question that demands honesty, because it's possible to confuse movement with transformation. It's possible to live intense experiences and still build faith on unstable foundations. When joy depends on what happens outside, any change in circumstances can shake everything inside. But when joy is born from belonging, it remains even behind the scenes, even when there are no applause, even when the results don't appear. Jesus continues to provide this redirection today. In moments of triumph, he whispers to the heart not to forget its essence. In moments of frustration, he reminds us that identity is not erased by performance. This is the hidden truth that sustains the journey. Power may vary, impact may fluctuate, but affiliation does not change. And when this mindset is adjusted, decisions become more mature, faith becomes deeper, and transformation ceases to be superficial. Perhaps you are experiencing a period of great spiritual victories. Perhaps you are going through a quiet period. In either scenario, the question remains the same. Is your faith based on power or on belonging? Because when Jesus redirects joy, he is not diminishing what you do. He is strengthening who you are. And this shift in perspective prepares the heart to understand something even deeper about how this truth manifests in daily practice. If this reflection resonates with your reality, comment below, "My joy lies in belonging." If you've made it this far, it's because this message truly resonated with you. And that says a lot about your journey. Conversations like this aren't just about content. They're moments of mindset adjustment, internal alignment, and silent decisions that shape who we're becoming. If this kind of deep reflection on Jesus' gestures, silences, and attitudes resonates with you, consider subscribing to the Jesus Beyond Words channel. The idea here is precisely to go beyond the surface, explore revelations that often go unnoticed, and transform understanding into practical life. If this video added value, sticking around might be a natural step on your journey. And I'll be glad to know you were with me until the end. Write in the comments, "This message was for me." This creates a real connection between us and shows that this conversation didn't just stay in the realm of ideas, but touched something deeper. If you felt a connection during the video, that something made sense, leave a like as a simple way to signal that. It's a small gesture, but it helps this message continue reaching people who are also on this quest for identity, belonging, and transformation. There's a video over here that perfectly complements this topic and further deepens this journey of understanding. Click on it and continue with me there, because when we begin to see these details in Jesus' teachings, it's difficult to look at them the same way again.